Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I didn't quite expect the big crowd, but thank you. This is an unpublished work that I did in North Kalimantan. It's basically a study on social norms, norms in cooperation, informal norms. And it looks into, it explores state, especially government initiated programs and how it influences the norms of cooperation. I share this presentation with Jessica Boma and Vicky Reyes from Netherlands and from Spain. A bit of motivation, why would we study norms? In the first text, you can see, with welfare system today, the poor becomes client. They see themselves as people with special needs and can only be met by outsiders. So in the mid-1980s, critics to large state government-initiated development because it was performing poorly and the side effects, degrading commons, negatively impacting the environment. Meanwhile, the idea in which my research is based into the interest in community-based approaches to development has found success. And in addition, it becomes seemingly better, or I don't know better, but another alternative to the state, the strong state regulation or market privatization. So if I carry you back, why do we study norms? Why do we study cooperation? In this sphere, there is state strong strict regulation, and in another side, market privatization, and in another large body of research, we all know what's going on there, and it's not really going to the direction of, let's say, what SMERU is studying on equality. So this was the idea behind why studying this. Again, the interest in community-based approaches is evoked with empirical proof that communities have the ability to cooperate. This is a result from Ostam's work, Cardenas. I'm citing more on common pool resources studies. And in addition, Ostrom also notes that a large cooperation and collective action is largely guided by social norms. What is social norm? Social norm is basically a shared understanding on actions. What is permitted, what is obliged, what is forbidden. A good example would be why are our roads in the left side, and some other people, the roads, the cars are the right-hand side. So it dictates, social norms basically dictates individual action on how to engage with others in collective action problems, where group performance depends on interaction of individuals. In addition, we have seen also that groups who cooperate mostly outperforms non-cooperative groups. This is also why researchers are interested in the idea of cooperation and collective action. So informal norms of cooperation are some fundamental in coordinating collective actions. Yet the problem of community-based approaches in development is that they mostly require voluntary cooperation. They ask for voluntary cooperation, but it's not really the case. It's largely government stimulated. In my work, I'm particularly interested in understanding cooperative behavior in which government shape how to cooperate. So the question is, to what extent are people willing to cooperate in these circumstances in which government shape cooperation? And what are the factors explaining why people cooperate and the government promoted cooperation? I will take you first to the case study in North Kalimantan. The case study is set in a remote rural communities, homogeneously customary community. They call themselves the Bunan, or today in Indonesia statistic, they fall into the generic of Dayak-Bunan. Yeah. Anthropological studies have explained, documented their lifelong culture and cooperation. So in Indonesia, basically this Bunan would fall into masyarakat adat. With literature documenting lifelong cooperation. If I can show you, this is the square in the Borneo, in the Kalimantan island. So it's very close to the border with Malaysia. And to this border, there is a large area of national park. So they're really close to this national park. And this also supports a little bit of context to the Bunan that there are upstream communities of my studies and downstream in the resettlement. In the era of Suharto, they were all the customary communities was driven outside of the park. So there exists resettlements of the Bunan in Malinau, the nearest market city, center city. So to come back again, in the upstream, there is, so basically during the Suharto era, there was resettlement. So this gives a nice diverse of communities that is studied. The one upstream, and that is basically homogeneous and remote, just the Bunan, and the settlements down in the Malinau city center. Yeah. So this is an example of why I study their social norms, or the Bunan in the context of state programs or state influence, state intervention. Because this is a picture of one of the most remote village, and it does not have any road access, but you can see from the pictures that this is the current state of rapid development in the area. So this is an example of the upstream village. I don't have any pictures of the resettlement, but just imagine any transmigrasi complex in any Java-situated area. Resettled and non-resettled groups have evolved quite differently. The Punan living in the resettlements have high mobility, access to formal education, healthcare, market, employment opportunities, even leisure activities. Dangdutan, cinema. While the Punan Tugu, who remain in the upstream river village, are isolated, has no access, road access. Okay. For example, yeah. The nearest market town is 2 days. Despite the relative isolation, the Punan face important socio-economic change. This is related to Indonesia's political setting of decentralization, and also recently the Undang-Undang Desa. But in the context of my study, it was even before. In 2012, they introduced a Gertema, which is basically what Undang-Undang Desa now is saying. The government of Malinaw committed to spend $100,000 per year for every village. So it's 1 million per desa. That's basically the title for the Gertema in Malinaw. Without consideration, such as distance, population. So typically, the money from the Gertema program is used for village level development goals, including house building. If I can turn back, including this to the bottoms are already government standard housing. They also use it for procurement of seeds, agriculture tools. Basically, the program endorsed village empowerment, direct management of village budget. Okay. With the programs, livelihood opportunities is generated. An example would be provided salaries for village representatives. So if anyone is familiar with administrative of desa, it's standardized. So you would need, now in this village, you would need the kepala desa, kepala BPM, LKM, like all these institutions, and all these institutions or individuals within the institution have their routine salaries. And also, it introduces also opportunities for labor, skilled labor and unskilled labor. Skilled labor would be carpentries to build all of this type of housing. You can't use the prior way of building house that they're used to. Yeah, but also unskilled porters. They need porters to carry the wood from outside of the village area to the inside of the village. So this would be an example of carrying your special package. If you can see the book being carried, that's the same way that they carry gasoline, all the utensils, aku, cement if needed. Ethnographic accounts have shown that the Punan traditionally practice cooperative work. This is an example, temuyun, or working together in agricultural plot. Anthropological studies have also shown they cooperate in hunting, in migration of boar, They also do food sharing, large food sharing, even to a degree of demand sharing. If anyone is know this, it's basically just going to your neighbor, sitting down while she cooks or while she cuts meat, and the neighbor would know that at the end of the day, if she leaves, she would have a piece of her meat or she would have a piece of her food that she just cooked recently. So I'm trying to explain this active social norms within the culture. So, as I said, cooperation is active within the community, but also recently with the introduction of government programs, the participation of villagers for infrastructure building, in this case house building, is also an example of active cooperation. Under the program, the building of 4 to 5 houses is planned for each given year. This requires that the villagers organize themselves and wait their turn to build house, knowing that the government will only give cash if houses for which the money has been granted the previous year is built. So, it's basically the government is also banking on their cooperation, but currently they're also shaping cooperation. Like I only give you this amount of budget. It's only proper for 4 to 5 houses, so everyone else have to wait. So you have to organize yourself, and if you don't build it, I'm not going to give you money in the next fiscal year. So that's an example of what it looks like. So as I wanted to understand how the government is shaping social norms within the society. As I said, I have a case study in North Kalimantan. I worked with 7 villages, upstream and resettlement. Participation was 112 adults. In addition to this part of the study, I have also lived 18 months among this, so there is a body of knowledge, 2012 to 2014, of more qualitative observation. I would be using frame field experiment to collect data on cooperation, which I will discuss. And in addition, I also collected pre-experiment information. It's basically sex, salary, age, control variables. So why a frame field experiments? I don't know if anyone is familiar with the economic experiment. It is basically used to measure social preferences. So I think right now, if I say on 1 to, maybe that's easy, but can you explain how fair you are? Maybe for example, Pasep, sorry, but can you explain, are you fair? Are you? Sure. Unfortunately, not all subjects are as easily as PASEF in answering the questions. Maybe an anecdote, part of my research was also a 12 months data collection on sharing. Like I really went to their houses and asked, what did you share in the past 2 days? And that was really hard. There was times that they were chatty and I did this. And there were days that, I don't know, maybe she had a fight with the husband. That she just, no, I didn't share anything. So this was an alternative. The economic experiment was an alternative how to capture. The background was basically game theory. If anyone has seen Beautiful Mind, the movie. And this is a nice quote from an economist, Bidmore. When a norm works very smoothly, people will even sometimes deny that norm is in use. That's yeah. So the economic experiment was mostly done in psychology. It's a lab experiment, so you get to control a situation, and it is basically a game. I use a standardized common pool resource game, which is used by Ostrom, and in my case, it is framed in house building activities, local context. If anyone is familiar with the common pool game, it's basically you can extract, but whatever is left in the common pot is shared, like many resources. If you extract wood, they study a lot of their studies on common pool resources would be on forestry. If you extract, what is left over is sometimes yielded, like trees, they grow in 10 years, and yeah, you get to harvest again like that. But in my game, as it is like a house building game, the common pot was not shared. It was one, so one person is a winner of a jackpot. Because that's how it is with the house building activities. Like the government has a certain amount of money, you have to build, everyone else has to wait. So this is the experiment. If anyone is interested, I can talk more. Played with 4 people, 4 rounds. Each player can extract 1 to 5 tokens. You basically just scratch how much tokens they want. The value is at this. I introduced press hold, so if in the common pot you don't have more than 10, I will cut the endowment of the group. This is in reflection that in house building also there's material costs. People have to go and work to build houses for other people. So the next round or the next budget year of the village, you can build also your house, or maybe it's your turn in the next one. 4 rounds, different. He's a winner of the jackpot in that session. So yeah, it's repeated 4 times, and every time you make a choice, like for example, Seth would just choose this time around. I would just extract 2, and this would be reported, so you would know how much your friends within the group. It is anonymous, so nobody knows who they're playing with, but still they were playing within their village. So they would know how much is left over, they would know how much they can work with in the next round. So this is what it looks like. Literally, it was also played. As you can see, I really did have a pause to make them understand better. The nice thing was that I had a balance of female and male participants, so that was nice. So I don't know how I'm doing with, okay, but I don't know how I'm doing with time, Echa? Okay, okay. So coming into the results, so like I said, there was a nice balance of male and female. We also did data collections, like I said before, of upstream and resettlements here. Upstream and resettlements also becomes a proxy to group exposure to the government, with low exposure villages being the upstream and the high exposure villages the resettlements. So about more samples within the low exposure. The average year of schooling was about 3 years of schooling, SD sampai kelas 3. But as I remember, it was 48% had no schooling at all. So a percentage of people having government house that participated, the percentage having the government wage, literally having government wage, like I said, being the pakades or anggota BPM or anggota Karang Taruna. Those people also have salaries. Anggota PKK, ibu-ibu. So I clustered them within this variable. I also tried to look at the trust of fellow villagers. I used 2 methods. One is standardized world value survey. The question was, do you believe in your fellow villagers? That didn't work. So what we used was, do you believe that your fellow villagers will give you 1 million if you are sick? And that was the more fun variation from that. So what did we find in the game? So this is basically a plot of the average extraction within each round, and the distribution between low exposure, the difference in the distribution of low and high is statistically significant. So this is, as you see. So what do we see here? Is anyone like sad? Or, because as we see, if we understand the romantics well, that masyarakat adat, mereka they're cooperative, mereka berbagi. But what I found in my research, look, the low exposure villages were extractive, while the high exposure village was less extractive. So can we say that?
What are low and high exposure?
That was the low exposure villages of the upstream villages that I consider to be less exposed to government particulars, and the high exposure are the sample within the resettlement that lives basically in city center where the government is. No, all of them are still Punan. So as it is also a study that looks into social norm, like your background and your culture. This is a good thing about this. All of them was Punan from the Tubu area, specifically from the Tubu area. So we assume that in the back of their mind they were adapting to the similar norms. that would be also maybe an argument. Why you do the exercise in North Kalimantan? Why not just do it in Jakarta? Oh, that would be so complex. I think even among us, I don't think we have the background norms might say different things. So this is a good thing about the methodology itself also, and sample to which data was collected. Okay, so a little bit of the regressions. What did I do? I wanted to know what is the association between the level of extraction. So cooperation here is cooperation is a proxy of the level of extraction. The more they extract in my study, the more I think that they're not a cooperative person. This is done with OLS. I also did COVID or ordered logit. So if anyone wants to talk more of the regressions, we can discuss more. So what did I find for the? Oops.
What is the dependent variable?
What is the? Bagaimana Pak?
Dependent variable.
The dependent is first round extraction. This is a result of the first round extraction. So it would, let's say we were just playing at one time. And one time I just asked you, now, how much are you going to extract? And this was the result. For all the observation, what I found had significance was that those in the low exposures is positively associated with extraction. We can see in the graph also. And government house means this is an individual level exposure. So if an individual has a government house, this shows that it has a negatively association to. So are they cooperative? These people with government houses? What's going on? To test robustness, we also model just looking at the ones in the upstream villages. And it was the same thing for individual level exposure. The one that speaks loudest was if they had a government house. Sorry. So those are the variables that we're looking at. So more of the regressions, because I was playing in 4 rounds, I also did a model that that takes into account all 4 rounds into a GLS modeling. And here, the same thing we found. Basically, the variable that speaks are also, low exposure villages again. Government house, when it is model 3, is only the low exposure villages sample. Age, the older you are, the more you extract. But male, if you're a male, the less you extract. Of course, the cooperative group, the cooperative groups are the ones that was not punished. If you remember, I also introduced a reflection that they could be punished if they didn't keep 10 tokens in their pot. So this one is, What's interesting also is that from each round, there's a significance. So they're basically, from one round to another, it is a consensus, everyone is doing it, that they extract and extract and extract. So what's going on? First, remember, the low exposure village, more extracted. So there can be several explanation to this. One would be the introduction of private benefits. It's basically shifting the traditional way of house building or cooperation in house building as a social relationship into a privately benefited activity. So that could be one explanation. But like I said, it is a surprise. Why are these people that we believe masyarakat ada, mereka bekerja sama, mereka saling mengandalkan, but why are they extracting? Exactly that. Maybe it's it's my way of defining what cooperation is. Because the literature has been saying that these communities, they do reciprocal, for example, reciprocal altruism. That maybe in our society, when we say reciprocity, it's basically I give you, I help you, you help me. But the anthropological studies say within this community is even beyond that. That you can't say that they're not cooperative because sometimes I help you and then you help my grandson. I think some of the stories are very relevant to who we are as Indonesian. Another example would be this demand sharing, like I said before. I don't know if anyone else has any stories, but I remember when I was small, we have cousins coming into our house for Hari Raya, other activities. And I remember my mom always telling me that don't forget to clean your room. But the second would be don't forget to hide the toys that you like. Because that's actually what happens. Your cousin will come, play with your toy, and at the end of the day, go in a tantrum and telling his mom that I want that toy. And then your mom is defenseless to even help you. And so this is bringing you back. So it's actually it's how we define cooperations. Within these communities, they do cooperate, but this is the way they are practiced. So it exists, the social norm or the social capital with this community exists, but it exists in their own terms and their own context. So that's the village level effect, like we saw that one of the findings that was robust. Another finding that was robust also that most proxies to individual level exposure, as you can see, I had education. If we can see all again, okay. I have education, I have government salary. They all they fail to explain, except the story about the people owning the house, individuals owning the house. They were cooperative. This could go back to the introduction of private benefits. But another result here that I highlight that most proxies of individual level exposure is not associated with cooperative behavior. And the last, maybe what's interesting is across rounds, extraction increases cooperative species. So this is what we saw. It is actually, okay, let me go back. You can see for each round in the big circle there. Oh, on this. Anyway, okay. Yeah. So extraction just keeps growing high. So what was happening? What was the dynamic in the game? That conditional cooperators have different tolerance. A large amount of us are not altruistic cooperators. A large amount of us will cooperate only if we see other people do the same. This is the literature. So, but even among us conditional cooperators, we have a different tolerance. There are people, ada yang baru diserobot antriannya, udah langsung marah. They're easily, maybe they punish, I don't know. But there are also people who has a greater tolerance. Monggo pa, silakan. So this is what was going on in the dynamic of the game. But people learn. We can see that in the game, people learn when the free riders are there. When we go longer and longer to the game, most of the operators just they don't want to cooperate basically, and that's why we get the results of extraction going up. So yeah, that would be the last. So if you don't understand what's going on, I would just like to take you to maybe two ideas, or maybe we can discuss more. One is the idea of this village effect. So I conclude here that the government does shape cooperation. In this study, it looks like the government is creating patron-client type of relationship. Like, tolong, 4, rumahnya, kalau nggak jadi, saya potong untuk berikutnya. That it looks like the high exposure villages has adapted to this, or maybe our general society has adapted to this, but the low exposure villages has not. They are still within their cultural context of reciprocal altruism, demand sharing altruism. So yes, of course, they probably can't stand with the rapid degree of changes. They might not stay within their contacts. They have to integrate one way or another. So one would be what we see, or maybe you have examples. There is a study in India, the Kumaon, in which the same introduction by the government, but a positive response. It's a study on environmentality is actually the title of Agrawal, the study of Arun Agrawal, that he went to a site in India in 5 years period. In the first year when he went, maybe one kind of village head was saying that no, we have a lot of land, there's a lot of forests, we don't need to keep the environment. But then in 5 years time, he was saying another rhetoric like, of course we have to keep the forests protected, that's where our income is coming from. And this was all through the village. The rhetoric becomes pro-environment. In his study, he said that the government was intimate, that the government was actively introducing cooperation, but this is a positive or a good lessons learned, that it resulted into a rhetoric of pro-environment. So what do you think? Is this just a case, a good luck for Agrawal finding this community, or you have seen other cases like this in Indonesia? One is that I would like us to discuss. And another thing is, as we see here, village effect or group effect is actually explains more, is more dominant than your individual individual characteristics. So what does that say? So I don't know. So should we preach to the crowd and not to the individuals? Because the results are showing that if you can drive the group, you can drive the behavior, and you don't need to look into the individual characteristics. I guess I leave that to the floor for discussion.